After this event, we'd love for you to take a short survey. We do this after all of our events. This helps us understand what you think about the film, about the event, how we can improve our future screenings and events. And it gives you the opportunity to share with us the commitments that you're making to take action. And the survey link is going to be posted in the chat after the panel. But we'll be sending it to you with all that information we sent you earlier. As an incentive to get people to participate in the survey, everyone who answers the survey will be entered into a prize drawing for a chance to win some prizes. So 2 lucky winners, 2 people will receive Greta's book, No One is Too Small to Make a Difference. So if you participate in the survey, you can win a chance, get a chance at winning that book. And the other, one other person will receive a zero waste kit. So now let's get our panel started. So I'm so pleased to introduce our moderator, Ngozi Chukwueke. Ngozi currently serves as an AmeriCorps CivicSpark Fellow with the City of Santa Monica, where she is working on community resilience strategies and creating a sustainable food system plan for the city. On the side, she assists with environmentally focused content creation for Brown Girl Green on Instagram. People-centric and impact-driven, Ngozi wishes to create a more inclusive understanding of sustainable systems and push institutions to better serve people and the planet. She strongly believes in elevating diverse voices in sustainability and looks forward to transforming the social impact space through storytelling that connects audiences and projects that create lasting change in communities. Ngozi holds a BSBA from the University of South Carolina, where she double majored in management and marketing and minored in social work. Welcome, Ngozi.
Hi, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Thank you so much to Gina for giving me the opportunity to moderate this panel. I'm currently calling in from Cherokee Land in Columbia, South Carolina, and I am so excited to introduce our panelists who are here with us today. So let's kick it off. First, we have Lilly Chertock. Lilly Chertock is a 12th grade student at Santa Monica High School who has been part of the Climate Action Santa Monica Climate Corps for 3 years and is currently serving as the Southern California Governor for the Junior State of America. She has pursued a number of climate communication projects over the years, including a recent virtual workshop series regarding environmental racism and civic engagement. With Team Marine, a club at Santa Monica High School, she designed and presented a sustainability seminar to more than 700 ninth grade students. After Team Marine received first place in the International Bow Seat Marine Debris Competition, Lilly, along with 3 other club members, were interviewed for KCRW Radio. In September 2019, she led the organization of a school-wide climate assembly and eco fair, as well as outreach efforts for the September 20th global climate strike. Next, we have Mica Williams. Mica Williams is a Santa Monica College student and graduate of Santa Monica High School. She began as a member of Santa Monica High School's environmental advocacy club, Team Marine, and joined Climate Action Santa Monica's Climate Corps in 2017. She has since become a lead intern for the Climate Corps, focused on the program's creative communications and educational eco-art, and has served as the youngest CASM steering committee member for the last 2 years. Mica has participated in sustainable efforts on her college campus, completed the Sustainable Work Student Greening Program, and is a trained climate reality leader. She has marshaled downtown LA climate strikes, including one featuring Greta Thunberg herself, and has organized a local West LA climate strike and local beach cleanups. She is now in the middle of transfer applications to pursue an environmental science degree so that she can better assist in mitigating the climate crisis and finding sustainable solutions. So everyone give them a warm virtual welcome, and we will get started with the first question. All right. So my first question is for either of you, and it is, how have you been impacted by climate change personally?
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. That's kind of a tough question because I think where I live and where I've grown up, I've been fortunate that I haven't felt as drastic impacts as other people and places on the earth. Of course, we all are impacted in some way, one way or another. And here, especially in Southern California, it's seen in a lot of droughts and things like that, and warming temperatures. But I think for me, the way that I've been impacted the most is kind of my way of thinking, and also what I'm doing with my life. I mean, this is what I'm pursuing because I think it is such a crucial topic. We're in a crisis, so it's really impacted me mostly in how I live my life, trying to live more frugally, knowing that resources are limited and that our planet is dying, and trying to keep that in mind and continue educating myself and others and learning more, so that I can be the best earthling I can be. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how it's impacted me.
I love that. What about you, Lily?
A lot of the same things. I would say, I think it was a quote from Greta in the movie. She said, "You've stolen my future. You've stolen my childhood, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones." And I definitely am too one of the lucky ones, because something that comes to mind is Samo had like a day where it was so hot that they actually let school out, and that is such a small way to be impacted, yet it was so alarming. Something that nobody was expecting to happen, for it to become too hot in Santa Monica for us to be at school. And I think, like Mica said, it's a lot of the way that I view things, the way that I view our systems, and how I view myself as part of these systems, and wanting to make an impact. So, I mean, there's certainly every aspect of all of our lives are impacted by climate change, but I certainly feel extremely lucky, and just want to advocate for those who are, we have people who have lost their lives to climate change already. And I certainly want to prevent as many people from facing that same fate as possible.
Yeah, I love that. And I know with all of these different experiences that both of you have spoken about just now, there's a lot of emotion that comes with that, right? So some days we're feeling on top of the world when it comes to fighting for the environment, other days not so great, right? So have you seen you or your peers personally experience climate anxiety or eco anxiety? And what does that look like for you?
I don't know, we just taking turns, Lily, or what? But yes, of course, there's so much emotion attached to this. It's impossible not to feel emotional about this, I think. And I think I've definitely experienced the anxiety around it, and I've definitely seen others who have too. Um, I've known personally people that have felt anxious about this idea. And then I think also just, when you are learning more about other places in the world and the things they have to worry about, like, the sea rising and floods and wiping out their entire home or neighborhood or anything like that. I mean, that's just one of the many examples. There is a lot of anxiety and emotion surrounded by this that a lot of us are feeling. And I don't know. I think that it's really just the idea that we don't know where this, I mean, we're seeing where it's going in the future, but it's the uncertainty, seeing where it's going, having these things continue to occur and not enough action being taken to mitigate these issues is where this anxiety is coming from. I mean, as like Greta in the film and a lot of many other environmentalists talk about, we are very focused on the money and all these things going on in our lives, but we also don't really know if we even have a future. And why are we worrying about those things if we don't even know if we have a future right now? People are dying every day. Species are going extinct every day. I mean, it's impossible to not be emotional and anxious about this, I think.
Absolutely. And I think it's definitely become more observable in my peers, since even since Greta started striking, I think it's absolutely, at least the people that I am in classes with, that I am around at Santa Monica High School, it's very much on everybody's radar. And I think sort of one way to describe it is like always seeing the future with not rose-colored glasses, but maybe gray-colored ones, sort of like afraid of what is next, because if things don't change at the speed that they need to change at, the future is extremely scary. If we don't, do the things that we're really trying to do, there's a lot of fear of what the future could look like, and I think a lot of premature grief and just being scared that not enough is going to be done. But I think at the same time, that anxiety is what's fueling so many young activists to just continue, this work and power through those negative emotions, because we are at a point where there is time to take action and mitigate the worst of climate change. So I think overall it's very motivating, but there's definitely, it's maybe that adrenaline like that you get during, you're taking a test or something. It's powering you through something, but it's still very stressful.
100% understandable. And Lilly, you're actually the Southern California governor for the Junior State of America. So does that come with like a heightened sense of responsibility almost that kind of falls on you? What does that role actually look like for you?
Thank you so much for that question. It's one of my favorite questions because because I've recruited so many people at Santa Monica High School to join this club. So basically, the Junior State of America is it's a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to helping high schoolers like myself engage not only in political discourse, but in activism. And being nonpartisan, it's not here's what you need to go advocate for, it's here's how you can get involved with different organizations and make your voice heard, just encouraging people to do that. So in Southern California, we have 10 different regions of JSA, and Southern California is its own region. We actually have the largest student population of JSA, so there's a few thousand students. We have about 80 chapters, so 80 different schools in Southern California. They all have this club called JSA, and what we do is we discuss current events and political issues, and really try to empower everyone to use their voice to be prepared to vote. I think when you're young, people are telling you that you're young and your voice doesn't matter, and like your opinions on these political issues don't matter. And then all of a sudden you're 18 and they're like, why aren't young people voting? What, where are the young people? Well, we're really trying to get young people to understand that their voice and their actions can make a huge difference. So anyway, that's all to say that being Southern California governor, I was elected by my peers to sort of run our state of the nonprofit organization. We have 130 students who are from all over Southern California who've applied and been selected to join our team. We have a fundraising, publicity, chapter fairs, expansion department. There's so many students working really hard to really spread this message of, even though you're in high school, there's so much you can be doing. And I think the community that we build of people who really want to talk about what's going on and want a space to discuss issues, especially during the Trump administration, there was really a need for people to just, discuss and debate these political issues that were coming up. And so we saw a lot of people in JSA actually in November, poll working and phone banking for campaigns and doing all sorts of outreach and activism. And I think that's really the core of JSA, is helping students realize their potential. So I guess I sort of run this chapter of the nonprofit, and it certainly feels like a job sometimes, although it is not a paid position, but it's the most rewarding thing in the world to help students all over the country, even because it's a national organization, to be part of this mission.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I definitely look up to you both and the work that you're doing in the environmental movement. I love to hear about it. And for this next question, I really want to talk about the diverse students and just the people across the movement that we all represent when we go to work every day, when we all have discussions about climate justice with everyone. So I'd love to hear about both of y'all's thoughts on how anti-racism work and climate activism actively intersect, because especially over the last year or so, we've had so many talks about how it's not enough to not just be not racist, but we have to be actively anti-racist. So I'd love to hear how you all are combining those two areas into one as we kind of push forward in this climate justice movement. And we can start with Mica.
That is a wonderful question and a loaded one. They definitely intersect, and they're both incredibly serious and intense on their own. But we've really been starting to see these more and more with the climate strikes, and then also the protests for different, equality, and I think now it's really coming to light that there's like people are actually fighting for inclusivity and fighting for equality and increased awareness and education and unlearning things, relearning things. I mean, it's just a period of educating ourselves and creating change and to create a better future for everyone. And I think something that is really huge in the climate movement, the environmental movement, is environmental justice, and well, really injustices, which really overlaps with anti-racism movements as well. Because, the BIPOC community, unfortunately, they are, in many cases, including the environment, they have to deal with living in communities that have more pollution, and they're closer to landfills or closer to freeways, and they're being affected in ways that the rest of us aren't. I think it's just also in dealing with the environmental movement and also anti-racism work, just realizing those overlaps and coming together because they are very interconnected in ways. I think because we are all affected by climate too, no one is left out. It's an inclusive movement. Everybody is so involved in it, and we're in this together as like living creatures of the earth. I think it's really important to see how we are all one, and we are all in this together and fighting for each other and fighting for our earth together. There's a lot of intersections, and I don't know if I'm the best person to talk about on all these things. I think it's also learning from each other, learning each other's stories and experiences, because there is always more to learn and things that we can't all experience ourselves. There are different people that have different experiences and different backgrounds and different stories to tell. And I think it's really just taking a moment to realize that and pause and open our ears and open our minds to learn new things and make changes and decisions off of that new information to create a better future. So, yeah.
I love that. Lily, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, just to add on, I guess, what Mica said about environmental justice, I think people don't realize just how connected anti-racism and environment and the environmental movement are. It's really, it's not two separate things that are like linked, like they're very much, in the same vein, the same issues, because when we talk about clean air and clean water and people dealing with floods and more hurricanes and drought, the people who are bearing the brunt of a lot of these issues are what we call developing countries, but are really just, formerly colonized countries that we've never really, we've never really given the, I guess what I'm trying to say is we, a long time ago, these were disenfranchised countries, and now, I've heard a lot of people say like, for example, I've talked to a lot of conservatives who say like, oh, China and India are more responsible for climate change, so we shouldn't even do anything because they haven't done anything. And because, a lot of the stuff that we use is actually made in India and China, that's where a lot of, pollution comes from. There's so many things that are connected. And I think that that blame part is also, you know, something to definitely consider. But even within America specifically, we have a ton, like, just to put it lightly, a ton of issues with who is affected by climate change, especially in the Los Angeles area. Los Angeles County is the largest urban oil well in the country, and the people who are living and whose communities are, you know, right next to these oil wells that do not have, you know, in Beverly Hills there are more safety precautions, but that's not everywhere in Los Angeles County. You know, those communities are the ones being affected by, you know, respiratory issues and heart issues. So we're seeing, like, especially, you know, race being a defining factor of, you know, the kind of pollution you're exposed to in America, and that is very much a fact. I will have to find a specific resource that I can quote so you guys can all, you know, double check me on it, but I'm 100% sure, because we learned it in APES class, which if you're in high school, you should absolutely take AP Environmental Science. A zip code is really, and race are factors that really dictate how much pollution you're exposed to in America. And if you live, you know, in an urban environment, it's going to be hotter because of the asphalt and the, you know, the surrounding the industrial buildings around you. You are going to feel climate change more. So I think when we talk about anti-racism and we talk about especially the Black Lives Matter movement, there are so many ways in which we need to be advocates to protect everybody's lives and to make sure that people are being not to be confused with a similar sounding thing of a similar name with lives mattering. What I mean is, when we understand that people in this country and in the world do not have access to the same things, and we're not in an equitable society, and people are not exposed to the same brunt of climate change, we need to understand that first and foremost, and be willing to sort of, you know, confront that uncomfortable truth that we are in places of privilege, and listen to the voices of people from these communities, and uplift them and support their voices. I think there was somebody who spoke, you know, it was right before the pandemic hit, in January of 2020, Vanessa Nakate, I'm 90% sure that is her name. She's from Uganda, and there was a picture of 4 white climate activists, and she was also in the picture, and you couldn't tell because the Associated Press posted a version where she was cropped out of the picture. And she said a very powerful comment, like, you didn't just crop me out, you cropped out a whole continent, because really so many voices, and what she was bringing to light, like voices of climate activists from the entire continent of Africa have been silenced and been cut out of these conversations, when so many people in the global South are going to bear the brunt and what we call frontline communities for climate change.
I absolutely love that answer, and that's a perfect segue into our next question, actually, because we talk about sometimes people being cut out of the picture, right? Whether that's literally or figuratively. And I believe that the climate justice movement isn't necessarily exempt from that, right? Like we saw with that picture. So I'd love to hear from both of you about whether or not you believe the climate justice movement is susceptible to celebrity culture. And if it is that helpful or harmful for us? And we can start with Mica.
Yes, I think I also want to make sure I hope I'm not answering the question wrong and understanding what that means correctly with celebrity culture. I think that, yes, the climate justice movement is susceptible to celebrity culture, and I think it can be helpful. I think it also can go the harmful route. I think it's been really helpful in at least spreading awareness about these important issues, about climate justice, about our current environmental state. But I think it's also a little scary because we don't know who is going to advocate for who or what, or if the right information is being spread, or, I think there's all these worries around it that are possible harmful things that could arise from celebrity culture being involved here. But I think in ways it's been very helpful. I think Al Gore himself, although not like I guess he is a celebrity. I mean, he was a politician, but I think just his fame, or people knowing who he is, it's been really tremendously helpful in and has enabled him to create the Climate Reality Project and reach people from all different continents all over the world to come together and train and have resources available to train these people. So in ways like that, I think it has been helpful in spreading awareness, educating people, and a lot of people follow their favorite celebrities and everything. So I think it's been really encouraging to see more and more celebrities come out supporting this movement and advocating for it, and either joining or founding their own groups or alliances and things like that. I haven't seen, I guess I've been seeing it in the positive light. Or I'm glad that there is positivity that has come from it.
Of course, yeah. And Lily?
I would have to agree. I have mostly seen some positive effects just because, for example, Billie Eilish is somebody that a lot of young people like look up to and pay attention to, and I've seen her post a lot about different, not just social justice, but specifically a lot of like climate issues. And I remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember her reposting something of Greta Thunberg, and I think sort of not to I think presenting the climate crisis in a way where it's coming back to you no matter where you are on the internet is a good way to start understanding just how serious of an issue it is. I think a lot of people just don't understand, and for example, I had a conversation with somebody who said, oh, 2 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees, that's nothing. What's that going to do? And it was important to say, hey, here's the IPCC report, and it explains all the impacts of 2 degrees and 1.5 degrees of warming. So here, take a look. People just don't have that understanding, and if celebrities start promoting that understanding, more people are going to get it, and more people are going to demand change. So I have seen a lot of, positive influence. I think, even like, I mean, obviously metal straws aren't going to be the solution to everything, but even making them more mainstream where they're very much, like everybody I know has one now. And that was because a lot of celebrities like were pushing it. It's getting people to understand the basic idea that the way that we live is unsustainable. We need to make changes. We cannot expect this lifestyle that we're living to continue because we are consuming too many resources, and we are not living in a way that will guarantee a livable planet. So just understanding that at a basic level, even just to start using a metal straw is a great start. And I think it has been positive.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that comparison. My last question before we head into the audience Q&A section, because I see a lot of really great questions piling up for y'all, is what do you think are the most impactful actions that people can take on to combat climate change right now? And we can start with either Mica or Lily, whoever's ready to answer.
I guess we got stuck in our ways. So I think, there are so many ways to get involved, which I think can be a little intimidating, but I think is also really exciting and encouraging that you can really dive in a lot of different places, different angles, different areas of the environment. And there's something to do all the time, I think. But I think something that I have noticed over the years for myself, at least, and from my work and my interactions with others, I think education, I will never stop talking about education. Education is huge. Educating yourself, continuing to educate yourself, because the learning never stops. With new science, new discoveries, new research, new studies, and then also just you're in a new environment, the world keeps changing, you're meeting new people who have different stories and experiences to share with you. The learning never stops. And I think continuing to educate yourself and educating others around you. And I think it is, as Lilly said, metal straws unfortunately are not the end all be all and the answer to the entire climate crisis. I wish it was that simple, but I have to think that, small steps like that and changing, changing out light bulbs for LED ones, or turning off the lights more when leaving the room, or just taking shorter showers, taking all these steps. Those are smaller, large steps in your life, switching things out, changing your diet. I have to think that's going to do something and create ripples and then waves. I think that once you start doing those things and it becomes more normalized, like these celebrities that are normalizing bringing your own tote bag or using metal straws and this and that, once it becomes, more people are doing it, then that's the thing to do. People will adapt to that. People will want to be like us. It's like a new fashion trend, kind of, you want to be like your friends. You want to have your reusable utensil pack with you too, if everybody else is doing it. I think it's really just being a good example to those around you, to your peers, to your siblings, to your parents, to your teachers, to everybody. Continuing to educate yourself and others. And I think also something that's really important is I feel that in today, as technology is continuing to advance and infrastructure continues to be built, we are getting more and more disconnected from nature, from the environment. And I feel that that disconnection is like what is inhibiting us from loving the environment, seeing what's wrong and protecting it the way that we should be. So I think finding a way to connect with the environment more and finding your own personal relationship with nature, so that you can understand it, learn to love it, and then learn to protect it, is vital in fighting this crisis. And then also I think just, there are so many areas you can go into: water, transportation, energy, food. There's so many different angles. And I think it's great to be, well-versed or familiar with all areas. But I think do something that you're passionate in, that you want to learn about, that you want to really make changes in, and you can teach others about, and start locally in your community, because I think starting in a place that with people that really will impact surrounding neighborhoods and communities, and will just spread. If we all start in our community, then we're all working on it, then that's it. That's what we need to be doing. So yes, this is my long answer.
I'm going to jump in. We have Carla Tatiana Claure has been able to join us. She had some difficulties. Quickly, and then Ngozi, can you read her bio? And then I'll read the audience questions. Do you have that available?
Yeah, of course. I do. So welcome to Carla Tatiana Claure. She is a current undergrad student at Santa Monica College who's receiving her bachelor's degree in environmental science. Her concentration on sustainable practices comes from a deeply rooted personal consciousness about the necessity of conservation and minimalism. She has inspired other students to practice sustainable habits by teaching them as a sustainable work student greening workshop leader. Originally from Virginia, she moved to LA to start anew. This journey was momentous in that it inspired her to pursue a life that would benefit the planet and leave a lasting legacy for future generations to come. She currently resides in Playa del Rey with her cat children and plants. She enjoys hiking, hooping, running, and long walks on the beach with nature where she collects seashells. But her biggest collections include crystals, gems, rocks, and unique findings from interesting travels. So thank you, Carla Tatiana, for being with us today.
So thank you. I'm going to take a few questions from the audience, but I do want to mention Faris Kawar, who is the project manager for sustainability at SMC, put something in here. He said something to do if you want to do something this Friday at 9 a.m. There is a march against Line 3 oil pipeline in downtown LA. The link is in the Q&A. I will have Brenda copy that link, put it in the chat, and then we will add that. Oh, I can't add it to the email because it will probably be sent to you after this Friday. So it's Action Network is where you can go, and I guess you can Google Line 3 oil pipeline. So Paul Scott asks, since internal combustion engines, and if I could just ask all of you to make your answers a bit shorter, just so we have we can take a little bit more questions from the audience. Since internal combustion engines are such a large part of global pollution and EVs powered by renewable electricity can now replace them, would you be willing to organize a targeted campaign to boycott the sale of internal combustion engines? Doing so would help end the manufacture of internal combustion engines as soon as 2030. So would you guys be interested or willing, or something you would think that that would be a possibility?
Is this for everyone or is this just for myself?
Everyone.
Okay, well, I personally think that that's something that would be really good to consider. I think it's something that's honestly, the environmental field in general is very difficult to come up with like the best, because there's always going to be a pro and a con, I think, to everything. So with every new technology, I at least want to consider it just because it could be better than what we currently have in terms of emissions. Everything is going to have a side effect. So it's kind of trying to play around with and pick the lesser of the evils. And as we learn more about what is best for the mass majority of the planet, I think that that goes with experimenting and trial and error before we come up with what could be best. And you know, I know unfortunately we're like always playing catch up, but I think eventually we'll get to a point where we have something that we can at least agree on that is the best for a while until, you know, things change again.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Okay, so next question. Are President Biden and his administration planning to do anything to address the climate crisis? The news isn't covering much. Have you guys heard anything recently besides his speech? Lily, do you want to, you shook your head yes, so do you want to?
Well, yeah, and that is something that we haven't really gotten to discuss yet. The news isn't covering much. Obviously, you know, the media has a big role to play in making sure that people are thinking about the climate crisis as something that is not this separate issue, but is more of like, you know, this underlying thing that affects every other issue. You know, from healthcare to, and we were talking about the connections to systemic racism and how environmental justice is so important. We really need to be seeing that in the media, but also I really recommend that everybody, you know, goes out of their way. There are like email subscriber lists where you can get like a daily dose of environmental news. You know, there are a lot of ways to stay connected and sort of fill that gap of what you're not seeing everywhere else. So I definitely recommend taking that action to stay informed. But yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to point out that the Sunrise Movement, you know, played such a huge part in making climate change, you know, not only a part of the primary debates, which took a lot of work, but it you know, we got there. we got there. But also, you know, making sure that so much of what we're hoping for in, you know, in the Green New Deal is actually going to come through in this administration. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Thank you, Julie. But yes, so yes, there are actions, and I believe there was an entire plan that was, you know, released before he was even, you know, it was part of his platform, and now we're seeing the new EPA starting to take action. But I think we all have a part to play in pressuring the administration to continue, you know, holding to these promises of what they said they were going to do, which was, you know, sweeping environmental action. But yeah.
So Zen Honeycutt asked, first I'm going to ask this question because if you haven't, then I won't need to ask the rest of it. But have any of you read Bill Gates' new book? He has a new book on climate. Has anyone read it? Okay, so she was asking your thoughts. But Zen, what I want to say to you is that our last film screening was 2040, and Paul Hawken, who's a very well-known environmentalist, was on it, and he and the director of the film talked about Bill Gates' book. So if you want to go to our website to past events, you can watch the panel and you can hear their comments and their thoughts on that book. There was a really good question about, I'm going to try to sum it up because I'm having trouble finding it, that social media and the electricity and everything, the power used for all of our online stuff is having an impact. And you guys are so into social media. Have you guys thought about your relationship to internet and social media and YouTube and TikTok and all that, the use of that, how that's connected to climate change and what your thoughts are about addressing that?
Yes, I wanted to also go back, but I'll answer this question first. I recently went to Costa Rica and realized that my usage on my phone was a lot less because I was experiencing the planet more and spending more time and money on conservation efforts. And I did a lot of tours that kind of support the animal conservation that they have. And Costa Rica as a country is very big on protecting its wildlife because they have so many different species of animals. And it kind of really made me put things into perspective in terms of how much I use my phone on a regular basis. I know that we all get that notification on Sunday and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was on my phone for 4 hours a day or 5 hours or 6 hours. And then when you get it down a little bit and you're oh, I was down 20%, that's an excellent choice or excellent habit that I'm creating. And when I was there, I noticed that I purposely didn't pay for the extra service to be able to use my internet. I just had it for phone calls, and I got it down to 1 hour a day, which might not be a lot for some people, but I know a lot of us are on there a lot more than that. Don't lie to yourselves, okay? But we can all reduce it. We all have, right now I think it's difficult with COVID, but at the same time, we have free entertainment outside. You just walk outside your house. We all live close to the beach, or at least I'm sure in an area where we can walk and just enjoy the day. We're all blessed enough to live if we're in Southern California, at least you're blessed to live in a place warm enough where it's pretty much summer all year round, even during winter. So you can enjoy free things that benefit the environment, going on tours that, I tried to do a lot of things that really benefit the land. And we can do a lot of that as people that are so excited about protecting the environment. We should be acting that out every day. And then I wanted to briefly touch on the previous question. I actually saw something today that on Thursday, Biden announced that he's going to aim to cut carbon emissions by as much as 52% by 2030. So if you haven't heard that, I think that's really good, but also good for everyone to look into in terms of his plan and kind of just really pick it apart, because again, there's pros and cons to everything. So I think that everyone should just try to stay informed, definitely know what you're voting for, read the small print. He wants to put us back in the Paris Climate Agreement, but I definitely am going to look into what that means, what circumstances and what he plans on doing for our country and what he plans to use the funds for to benefit the planet. So yes, thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to ask Mica this question because you did work on one of the protests in downtown LA where Greta was, but this comes from an anonymous person. Greta said that not to wait for world leaders to make changes, nor to listen. And we see her speaking to world leaders and waiting for them to make changes. Do you know what her reasoning is for taking this approach, even as she doesn't see it working? Is she turning her attention to other strategies now? Do you have
Wow, that's a great question. I think, yeah, I think Greta, I mean, started this obviously because she was seeing that people and world leaders were not taking enough action as they needed to. And I think initially, you know, she was going to all of these wonderful events and meetings that she was getting invited to, finally hoping that someone would listen, and then they would start acting and say what they would do, as they respond to her speeches very enthusiastically and respectfully, and, you know, applaud her for the work that she's doing. And I think, I mean, she says when she's sitting in a lawn with her friend and part of the movie, and saying, you know, she was wondering why she keeps doing it. And they're like, you know, we keep saying the same thing. We keep repeating ourselves over and over again. And we just have to do it until one day they finally listen and get it. And then her friend says, yeah, then that's what we'll do. I think she just, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, she gets so frustrated that she's wondering if her mic's even on, if she's even speaking English, because she is so clear in what, not what she wants, but what we all want and need desperately, and still not getting anything from that, from her countless meetings, from her countless things that we've been doing, the increasing in climate strikes, the not enough change coming from it that I think was expected, or no, maybe not even expected, but really hoped for. So I think the continuation of doing this, and the continuation of the fight, I think is because what else can we do? Our world leaders are a part of this. They are a huge part in turning this around and mitigating climate change. You have to keep talking to them. You have to keep bugging them. You have to keep nudging them until maybe one day they're maybe so annoyed with you that they'll finally do something. They'll finally listen or wake up one day. And I think while Greta's doing that, it's waking other people up. It's waking citizens up, just, you know, regular people, to realize, wow, you know what? She keeps saying this. She keeps going to this meeting. She keeps doing this. She's dedicated. And wow, our world leaders are really not responding. And we need to do something too. We need to stand up and, you know, and fight as well. And we're growing in numbers from that. So I think that's really probably, I mean, I haven't asked Greta this question personally, but I would guess that's probably her reasoning for it, because what else can she do? She has to keep fighting. We all do, and encouraging each other to put pressure on our leaders, to make the right decisions and to guide them in that. Did I miss a part of that question? Is that okay?
But I was going to ask you, because of COVID, you know, the strikes, the climate marches had stopped. Are they starting back up again? Does anyone?
You know, I'm not entirely sure when. I mean, I think that was a really devastating thing because we were on such a roll and growing numbers every week. I haven't been to one in a while, obviously. I'm not sure when they're really gonna pick up and be like they were before. But I think that's kind of what we were talking about before, and being online, where everything's online now, you know, but I think the beauty of technology, I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to it, an ugly side, a beautiful side, that we're on it way too much and we're using way too much energy during this time. But I would like to use it as wisely as I can. And, you know, going to informational events like this and being a part of it and being able to reach such a wide audience from people all over the world, that's really cool. I think just using our time wisely to, you know, continue the education, continue the conversation, even if we aren't all able to be there in person together the way that we want to and we were before. Stand with each other, continue to encourage each other to do what we can in our own lives. And when the time comes that we can all meet up in person and continue on as we did before, let's do it, but let's not stop, even though we're in this time.
Great. We're running low on time. I'm going to turn it back to Ngozi to ask like one or two more questions, because we have gone over a little bit, but you guys are having some good answers. So Ngozi, you want to bring up two more questions? Maybe talk to Carla about her role as associate students or something, whatever you want to ask them.
Yeah, of course. Carla, I would love to hear about your experience as Santa Monica College's Associate Student Sustainability Director, if you'd like to share a little with us.
Sure. So I think for the semester or for the academic year, it definitely was a little different than I had originally planned it would go. So trying to transfer everything to online after experiencing at least like half of the spring semester last year, I at least had very little information about how I was going to run my position. I have had a lot of help from EcoAction, which is the current environmental club at SMC, in planning both Sustainability Week and Earth Week. So that was a great help. They took charge and we were able to get the event in on time. It was definitely different than I had originally planned because of course, when you're on campus, there's a lot, it's a lot easier to grab students' attention. They're walking by, you have more interactive activities where people can kind of enjoy like a game. We had like a recycling game the year prior and I helped when I was director of activities. So I had hoped that as director of sustainability that I could kind of like redo some of the similar things. Converting it was not as difficult as it seemed, but it just made the work different. I don't want to say it was easier. It was just trying to engage students in a different way. The event that I'm currently most excited about is one that I'm planning. It's a drive-in, actually. We did a lot of work to try to jump through a lot of hoops and got a lot of advisors on board to do a drive-in movie at SMC. So if anyone is interested in that, you're welcome to email me. I can put my email in the chat after this. But we are trying to make it as COVID safe as possible. Being a director on campus was a lot of work as it was, and you can only imagine it's more work online because there's a lot more paperwork for having an in-person event. As a student and a director, I will say that it has taught me a lot, especially during the pandemic, on how to manage my time. I already have time management issues in person. So as someone who has to now self-motivate and self-schedule yourself, I know that we've all struggled because being on campus and having the environment around you puts you in a different mindset. But it does help having events like this or having what is closest to in-person face-to-face events virtually, and hosting things that help students just kind of like still get engaged and involved. Being able to do that as a director of sustainability, I think has made it enjoyable in a different way. I definitely took advantage of the fact that we were remote and was able to go places to learn more about the environment. Going to one of the happiest and most sustainable countries in the world during like Earth Week was exciting because I got to learn about how they run the environment, how they're very adamant about caring about what they have and protecting the land that they have. So a lot of it, like the water is very clean and drinkable straight from the tap, you know? So things like that, I like learning about because then I'm able to come back and help influence others or try to come up with ways that we can implement some of those great ideas into the small scale, as Mica was saying, like SMC, but also, you know, on a larger scale, like the community and the state. So I think it's been a great experience. I have learned a lot from being remote. So if anyone is interested in running for a position, I can definitely tell you how it's going to be. But yeah, I think that overall it's been a really great leadership experience to be able to implement something that you really believe in and then teach others from a platform that they'll listen to, and also working with other directors as peers to come up with the best and most sustainable and beneficial ideas to spend the school's money for students. Thank you.
I absolutely love that answer. It's really cool to hear about the work that you do. And I have a question for everyone, actually, whoever is most comfortable answering it, whoever would like to. In the movie at the end, right, Greta says that climate action, climate justice should be a Black and white issue. So how do you feel about that idea of climate activism being Black and white? Is there space for nuance there? Are there any situations where, you know, it maybe isn't so clear cut? Do you have any opinions about this? Any thoughts about that? And we can start with anyone that has thoughts on this.
Yeah, I'll be brief so either of you can speak, but what I love about Greta is she's so fiery and she just says it straight. And I think there are a lot of things to the climate crisis that are black and white. You know, she says we can't do a 2-degree increase warming. That can't happen. We either fix that and prevent that, or it happens, and that is pretty black and white. And there are things like that that I think are black and white, and it's black and white that we are in this crisis and we are responsible for it and have a part in fixing it. We're connected to the environment. I mean, that's just simple. That's a fact. But I think also what isn't so black and white, I think there's a gray area to everything. We don't all have the same, I mean, it's a lot about like privilege, like what we were talking about earlier. Either people in this country or in other countries, we might not have the same resources available to us, or the wealth or the affordability to lead the most sustainable, perfect lives. Like many of us might want to, but we just realistically cannot. And I think it's important to take that into account. You know, people even have, I think even with like diet change, I think is really huge in the climate crisis and changing things around. But, you know, some people also have really crazy health issues, and some people, you know, there are some doctors that say, you know, meat or some dairy is required for this person, or they'll fail off a vegan diet. And I think it's just being mindful that not everything is black and white, being mindful that people have restrictions, trying to be sensitive about that. And that I think really how I see it is, I'm like, I don't want people to just strive for perfection, strive to be the perfect environmentalist. I think it's just participating, being willing to do something, willing to like try to continue improving, start small, and then you know, do more things and more things as you learn more, and you know, you're getting used to leading a more sustainable life. I think that's what's intimidating for a lot of people, is that it's right here, right now, starting tomorrow or starting today, you need to switch your diet. You need to throw out all this stuff. You can't use this anymore. You need to do this. Like, and I think that might be really intense and scary for some people, or people are like, I can't do that. So I think it's being mindful and kind to each other, being understanding of each other's circumstances, and just being supportive and participate in how you can. And we're all working on being better together. So there are black and white areas, but there are also gray areas, I think, in this climate action.
Do you want to take a second to answer that, and then we're going to wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. And I totally agree with what Mica has been saying. I think Greta once said in one of her speeches, the science is crystal clear. And I think that, you know, at its core, the issue is black and white. We don't know all of the impacts of climate change because we've never had anything like this before. And we're always discovering things that we didn't anticipate that are, you know, results of climate change. But we do know that we have an issue and this is what causes the issue and we need to change. And so that is very much black and white. And I wish politicians knew, you know, maybe they do know, but wish they acted as if the rate of change that we need to be changing at is just necessary. It's black and white. We need, in order to have a livable planet, this is the rate we need to go at. And that's that. So I do agree that at its core, it is very black and white, but I agree with what Mica said.
I want to thank all of you amazing women, and it's all women, which is great. And you're just so powerful. And I just hope that you are inspiration. You are to me an inspiration to everyone on this call, that you are young and you are doing this. And if more young people like you are doing this, it gives me so much hope for the future. So I want to thank you all for taking time out of your schedules, for doing the work that you do, for fighting the good fight, for being involved in all the organizations that you are. And we're putting a link to the survey. Remember, if you fill out our survey, After this, I'll send it to you again in an email. You'll be entered into our prize drawing. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. Have a great weekend, and let's see each other out there when the marches start again on Friday. Good night.
Bye.